On a dark December evening in 1993, Mary Kilmartin, a vulnerable mother haunted by her past, stepped out of her Portlaoise home after a mysterious phone call, leaving her Christmas gifts unpacked and her life hanging by a thread. She was never seen alive again. 6 months later, her body was unearthed from a remote bog, weighed down by a cement block, her death a brutal secret buried in the mire. For over 3 decades, her daughter Anya has fought to unmask the killer. Who lured Mary to her death that night? And will the truth ever emerge from the shadows? Welcome to Crimes That Haunt Us, the channel where we dive deep into the most unsettling cases. We're on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers, and every single one helps keep these stories alive. If you enjoy true crime content like this, hit subscribe and join the community. In the shadowed corners of adoption lies a heart-rending dilemma. The yearning to uncover one's origins, weighed against the fear of wounding the adoptive family who raised you. For those brave enough to embark on this journey, the path is fraught with uncertainty. Perhaps the birth mother doesn't share the same longing, or worse, she may be lost forever to the mists of time. Marie Kilmartin faced an unimaginable heartbreak when her family forced her to surrender her newborn for adoption, a decision that would echo through the decades. When her daughter Anya finally uncovered the truth about her birth mother, the revelation came with a devastating blow. Marie had been dead for nearly a decade, the victim of a brutal, unsolved murder that still casts a dark shadow over Portlaoise. Anya, just 14 years old, had stood at Marie's funeral in June 1994, mourning a woman she believed to be a distant relative, unaware that the casket bore her own mother. The weight of that day must have pressed heavily on those who knew the secret, watching a young girl grieve without truly understanding her loss, their silence a heavy burden in the quiet of the cemetery. Marie Kilmartin's life began under a protective shroud, her family ever vigilant against the vulnerabilities that marked her from childhood. Born to Fred and Rose Kilmartin in Ballinasloe, County Galway, Marie grew up alongside 2 brothers and a sister, enveloped by the wealth of her father's Ford dealership in the Midlands. But beneath their affluence lay a quiet concern. Marie's low IQ and fragile demeanor left her open to exploitation, a fear that haunted her loved ones. At 17, her struggles deepened when she was admitted to St. Patrick's Hospital diagnosed with manic depressive psychosis, a label that would shadow her for years. Despite the care lavished upon her, Marie, at just 19, found herself pregnant in 1979 while working as a childminder in an orphanage in Moate. Her family, grappling with her mental health and the medical advice that she couldn't raise a child, made the agonizing decision to commit her to St. Fintan's Psychiatric Hospital in October 1979, where her vulnerability only deepened. And it was on March 29, 1980, that Marie was transferred to the General Hospital in Portlaoise, where she gave birth to a daughter she named Rosemary, a fleeting moment of joy before the crushing reality set in. Whisked back to St. Fintan's, Marie was detained, her newborn torn from her arms and placed for adoption with a relative against her wishes. Her daughter wouldn't learn the truth until she was 20, mirroring the age Marie had been when she gave birth, a cruel twist of fate. Upon her discharge, Marie didn't return to the family home in Ballinasloe, choosing instead to carve out a new life in rented accommodation in Portlaoise. There, she was joined by Patricia Doyle, a nurse from St. Fintan's who first met Marie some 13 years prior as an inpatient. She became her live-in companion, a curious arrangement given the ethical boundaries typically separating mental health professionals from their patients. Together, they moved into a bungalow at 12 Ballad Lower on the Portlaoise Stradbally Road, a gift from Marie's father, where she found solace among neighbors who cherished her gentle presence. But Marie's inner struggles persisted.
I see Kathleen dead, like Kathleen, the difference in Nora and Tommy and Maureen died. They wouldn't keep the child, they wouldn't mind it. Oh no. And then go into the hospital. I'd rather have me in the hospital. They shoved me in there to get me out of the way. Get out of the way. So they shoved me in. But I wasn't even, I was alright. Was alright until it started preparing with me.
Plagued by mild agoraphobia, she rarely ventured far from home alone, her fear of men and the dark casting long shadows over her days. Yet she found a sanctuary in her volunteer work at a drop-in centre for senior citizens in Portlaoise, where she thrived amidst the warmth of cooking and serving lunches, her kindness earning her a special place among staff and clients. Her routine was rigid, never walking the mile home alone, always relying on lifts from co-workers or the centre's minibus, a ritual born of necessity and fear. On December 16, 1993, the centre buzzed with festive cheer as staff hosted a Christmas party for the residents. Marie arrived at 11 a.m., fresh from errands, her spirits buoyed by the celebration. After the party ended at 4 p.m, colleagues Frances Bleach and Frances Conroy drove her home, declining a cup of tea inside but inviting her to join them later at a staff gathering in town. She demurred, her aversion to the dark making her attendance unlikely, and her friends watched her close the front door behind her, as was a common routine when dropping her off. A final, haunting image of Marie Kilmartin alive. When Patricia Doyle returned home just after 6 p.m, the house was cloaked in darkness. Marie nowhere to be found. Her shopping lay abandoned on the kitchen table, a chilling echo of Annie McCarrick's disappearance, where groceries were similarly left unpacked, both women seemingly expecting to return. Patricia, oddly unalarmed despite 13 years of knowing Marie's rigid routines and fears, assumed she might have gone to the party.
The shopping that she used to get that day, she left it on the back of the chair, and she left her Christmas presents that she got in the centre on the table. The kettle was plugged in, the alarm was on, the immersion was on for the bath, and the dog was locked into the shed, so the gate was open. So everything was quite normal. That was normal, the normal way that we lived here.
But as the night deepened, Patricia's inaction, retiring to bed without investigating further, casts a perplexing shadow over her role in those critical hours. It wasn't until 10 a.m. the next morning, Friday, December 17th, that Patricia raised the alarm, calling Frances Bleach and Frances Conroy, who confirmed Marie hadn't attended the party. She then alerted her neighbour, Mary, wife of a local detective sergeant, who contacted Portlaoise Garda Station, prompting a missing person report. Given Mary's agoraphobia and fear of the dark, her absence was immediately deemed suspicious. A full-scale search ensued, with appeals broadcast through local media and inquiries made among her acquaintances. Her home showed no signs of foul play. The immersion heater was on, the alarm was set, and a bag packed with Christmas gifts for a planned trip to Galway, all pointing to her intent to stay in. Detective Tom Jones, a seasoned investigator at Portlaoise Garda Station, uncovered a critical clue. A phone call to Marie's landline at approximately 4:30 p.m. on December 16th, lasting over 2 minutes, suggesting a conversation that lured Marie out. The call traced back to a public telephone kiosk on the Portlaoise to Dublin Road near St. Fintan's Hospital, where Marie had once been a patient and where her housemate Patricia Doyle still worked as a psychiatric nurse, and close to Portlaoise Prison, a high-security facility for subversive prisoners. No other calls were made from the kiosk around that time, and technical examinations yielded no leads. Gardaí canvassed the area, and on February 24, 1994, nearly 2 months later, following an RTE Crime Line appeal, a woman came forward. She recalled passing the kiosk while hitchhiking to Monasterevin, noticing a dark-haired man aged around 30, between 5'6" and 5'9", either entering or exiting as the call was made. a ghostly figure who has never been identified to this day. Marie's decision to leave her home after that call, in the dark of a winter evening, defied everything she stood for. A woman crippled by fear, stepping into the unknown. Her agoraphobia and dread of men meant she wouldn't have ventured out for a stranger, pointing to a caller she trusted implicitly. House-to-house inquiries confirmed no car had picked her up, deepening the mystery of her final moments. 2 witnesses claimed to have seen Marie the next morning. May White spotted her between 10 and 11 a.m. in the car park of the Midlands Health Centre.
Well, I was coming out of the health centre on Friday, the Friday morning, the 17th, and as I got into my car and started reversing it, I saw Marie standing over in the corner of the car park. And I rolled down the window and I said, "Hello, Marie." And she said, "Hello, May," quietly.
Hello, May.
Christine Dwyer encountered her between 11:45 a.m. and 12 p.m. in Crazy Prices, Portlaoise.
It was on the Friday, and I had already gone out of the shopping centre, forgotten to get something, and I came back in. I heard my name being called. I looked around, and it was Marie. And I went over to her, and she was very shaky and everything, and she was all muffled up in the scarf and coat, and she was pretty upset on that day, very nervous and shaky, her voice trembling and that. And I was going away, and she said, "Will you come with me?" I couldn't. I told her I was in a hurry, and I went and left her.
But these sightings, unverified by Gardaí, led nowhere and the trail went cold. On the evening of June 10th, 1994, a grim discovery shattered the silence. Off-duty Garda Tom Flynn, watching a football match at the Barnahas, was approached by prison officer Thomas Deegan, who had stumbled upon a body while cutting turf near Pims Lane on the Portlaoise to Mountmellick Road, 10 miles from town. Garda Philip Lynn arrived to secure the scene, revealing a chilling tableau. A woman's body submerged in a bog drain, partially hidden by undergrowth. The ditch, undredged since the previous summer, held little water, but the body's placement was deliberate. Lying on its back, feet raised higher than the head, draped with a lady's overcoat later identified as Marie's. A 6-inch cement block rested on her chest, with a Kosangos Supersur heater and a child's pram shell placed across the bog hole, an elaborate effort to conceal her, suggesting intimate knowledge of the bog's seasonal rhythms. State pathologist Professor John Harbison, assisted by the Garda Technical Bureau, confirmed the body's identity through dental records and jewellery: 4 rings, a watch and a gold chain, all Marie's. The post-mortem at Tullamore Hospital revealed manual strangulation as the cause of death, evidenced by a fractured thyroid cartilage with no signs of assault or blunt force trauma. Her intact clothing ruled out assault as a motive, but her glasses and handbag were missing, possibly kept as trophies by her killer or lost at the original crime scene. The scene spoke of a calculated mind. The cement block and heater weren't random debris but tools to keep Marie's body submerged, a plan that might have succeeded had Deegan not noticed her. Investigators concluded Marie was likely killed elsewhere, her body transported to Pims Lane, a known dumping ground requiring local knowledge to navigate in darkness. The deliberate placement suggested a strong perpetrator, or an accomplice, familiar with the area, a chilling prospect in a tight-knit community. On June 25, 1994, Gardaí arrested 2 men, a father in his 50s and his son in his late 20s, in a Portlaoise household. The older man, well known to Marie, had worked near her drop-in centre, often giving her lifts home, and had quit his job the day after her disappearance, his behaviour raising suspicion. A 16-year-old girl with whom he was having an affair revealed they had been intimate in his van at Pims Lane just 10 days before Marie vanished, a mere 150 yards from the dump site where he regularly cut turf. She recounted how they fled to Durrow after Marie's disappearance, posing as man and wife in a flat on Chapel Street, where he spoke bitterly of Marie, calling her a bitch and resenting her family's wealth. He gifted the girl 2 rings, only to reclaim them days later, claiming they were lost, a detail that lingered ominously. Both men were questioned for 12 hours and released without charge, the evidence too thin to hold them. The inquest into Marie's death opened on June 14, 1995 by coroner Dr. Patrick Greeley, but offered little closure. Professor Harbison reiterated that strangulation caused her death, likely within a day or 2 of her disappearance, though the exact date remained elusive. Patricia Doyle, Marie's live-in housemaid, testified, identifying Marie's clothing, a light grey or beige tweed overcoat, a grey, red and black woolen scarf, a floral plum-coloured suit and black lace-up ankle boots, along with 4 rings. Years later, questions would arise about the Gardaí's decision to wash her clothes in warm water for DNA analysis, a procedure criticized for potentially destroying evidence in the nascent days of forensic science. By April 1996, Operation Shannon concluded Marie's murder was a standalone case, unlinked to other crimes, though Superintendent Noel McCarthy hinted at a possible connection to an unrelated case that might yield progress, a faint hope that never materialized. The 2008 NCBI, or National Criminal Bureau of Investigation, urged re-interviewing of all witnesses and suspects, leading to the September 23, 2008 rearrest of the father and son, along with the older man's wife. Questioned in Portlaoise and Tullamore stations, 2 of them were suspected of holding critical information, but all were subsequently released without charge by the following morning, leaving the case at another impasse. Marie's daughter, Anya, has waged a public awareness campaign over the years to ensure that her mother's case is never forgotten. Learning at age 20 in 2000 that Marie was her biological mother after attending her funeral in 1994 believing her to be a cousin, Anya channeled her grief into a mission for justice. To mark the 13th anniversary of her mother's disappearance in December 2006, she spent the day distributing leaflets appealing for information throughout Portlaoise town, an effort she escalated in 2007 by launching a website dedicated to her mother's memory, handing out over 1,000 leaflets to publicize it. That same year, Anya made a poignant appeal directly to the suspects.
I'd also like to appeal to the person or persons who were responsible for the death of such a loving and caring woman who I never got to know is my mother, to just come forward and have it in their hearts to lessen their own burden.
A rare glimpse into Marie's life before her murder comes from a 1992 home video allegedly filmed by her housemaid Patricia Doyle at their shared residence in Belad, Portlaoise, which Anya later released as part of her campaign to humanize her mother and highlight her vulnerability. The footage shows Marie, then 34, heavily sedated, likely due to medication linked to her time at St. Fintan's Psychiatric Hospital, sitting listlessly in their living room, a stark contrast to the vibrant woman described by friends at the care center where she volunteered. In August 2019, at the Central Criminal Court, a detective applied to transfer 6 interviews with the chief suspect from VCR to DVD, which was approved, and the case was slated for review by the Gardaí's Serious Crime Review Team, marking a significant step forward. On the 30th anniversary of Marie's disappearance in December 2003, Anya visited the bog where her mother's body was found, leaving a teddy bear in remembrance and publicly calling for a cold case review while criticizing the investigation's lack of progress. Through her direct involvement, Marie's friends, inspired by Anya's relentless efforts, joined the appeal in December 2024, offering a substantial cash reward for information leading to a conviction, setting up a Facebook page and placing ads to amplify the call. Anya's quest reached a poignant milestone in February 2025 when she appeared on TG Caha's documentary series, sharing her story, and in a subsequent Sunday World interview, she claimed that after decades of research, she believes she knows who killed her mother and who assisted in concealing the crime. Her campaign remains ongoing, a testament to her unwavering commitment to uncovering the truth about her mother's murder. Marie Kilmartin's life was a tapestry of quiet resilience woven through threads of vulnerability, a woman whose gentle spirit found solace in serving others at Portlaois's senior centre, yet whose fears of the dark and unknown cast long shadows over her days. But on that fateful December evening in 1993, her trust in someone she knew led her into the abyss. Though Marie's parents, Fred and Rose, and her brother Noel have passed, Anya's fight endures, a testament to a daughter's devotion and a mother's memory that refuses to fade until the truth emerges from the shadows. Thank you for listening and watching Marie's story. Please feel free to get involved and leave your own thoughts and theories in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time.